So I wanted to very quickly answer some questions around the difference between Geospatial 1.5 and Geospatial 2.0. And the question came up, is reality mapping part of 1.5 or 2.0? Now, reality mapping is a new term that I've suddenly come across. I think it's somewhat of a branding exercise, but it's an interesting term. There's been some really cool videos actually on reality mapping. But where does it sit in the bigger world that I've been defining? Well, let's look at it. First of all, the initial canvas is a map. Secondly, the workflow is to capture, represent, visualize, and maybe analyze on top of that. It's a way of, it describes the world first rather than interacting with the world as a system. And then it's really a map first, sort of user-driven paradigm. So reality capture is absolutely in the 1.5 world. Now there are elements within it that are 2.0-ish, but fundamentally for those four reasons it still sits in that 1.5 world. So you ask for a map and from there you make your decisions. Where 2.0 is quite significantly different is you ask a question and the system interacts with you and helps to offer you actions based on that interaction. So very much how, if you're using LLMs and generative AI today, conceptually that's exactly how this 2.0 system works. So what might be a good example of an interaction with a 2.0 system? It's really asking a question first. So for example, think of a question like, what areas are going to flood if this storm hits our city tonight? And what should I do, basically? So the system would go out there and come back with an answer for you. And it's an interactive situation. So it might come back and say, Zone B is going to be the most impacted by this particular storm. I've analysed its drainage patterns and infrastructure. And these are the recommended mitigations options that I've got. First of all, you can look at rerouting traffic away from that zone. Secondly, you could trigger pumping stations. And thirdly, you could reach out to teams on the ground that are active response teams, essentially. And lastly, it would ask, if you want to do this third option, do you want me to reach out to those teams? So you can see how there's a massive difference between a 1.5 world, which is the old paradigm. Again, I say old, it's the mapping-based paradigm. And the new world, which is fundamentally interacting with the system as one does with AI in today's world. So quite fundamentally different. And I hope that this helps you understand better that gap as I've defined it between the 1.5 and 2.0 worlds. Again, I'm always welcome your feedback, and today, thanks for listening.